video, we're going to start setting up a cell with multiple robots. So we're going to do a new cell, handling pro, and let's call it what it is. So we're going to go multiple robot. And we're going to do handling pro, pick your version. And we're going to set up with a suction. So we'll just go to CAD library. If you do not have that, we're going to just go to our grippers. And inside the grippers, all the way at the bottom, you're going to have your suction. Hit next. Your robot, we're going to just go with the R2000 IC 165F. And then continue on here. We're not going to set up any motion groups. We're going to set it up after we have the cell already created. Finish and allow it to run through. When you get to the question for the flange type, we're going to just do a standard flange. So we type in 1 and then enter. And allow it to run through. Alright, let's set up the robot. So right now our suction is pretty big, so we're going to make this a little bit smaller. So it's going to be under U Tools, so if we double click it, and we can change the proportion sizes by unlocking proportion sizes. And I'm going to go, say, quarters of a scale. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe we'll kick it up to 1. There we go. So now we have that. Let's set up the U Tool. So let's go to U Tool, edit U Tool. Let's bring this down so it's at the top of our suction. Use current triad. And let's make this a nice nominal number of 185. And there we go. So now we have our Z, that is the positive, X positive, Y positive. So let's actually rotate this so Z is up so we don't get confused with the world and also our tool. So if I go here, so if I change this to 180 and 180, hit apply, now our UCS is the correct direction. Let's now create a part in which we're going to pick up. So let's just do a simple box. So let's go to cell, add part, and let's go box. Let's size our box and also give it a dimension. So we'll go 600, 300, 200. So now that we have our box, let's give it a heft. So we'll do 5 grams for that, and we'll do box. And hit OK. So now that we have our box, let's set that up on our tool. So let's go Tool, and let's go to our parts, add part, hit apply. And now if everything matched on our triad, it should match on our box as well. So if you zoom in, you can see we're at the bottom, and also we're centered all the way around. Hit OK. Next, let's set up our home positions and our position registers. So I'm just going to turn on our teach pendant, and I'm going to go to data, and we're going to go to position registers. And the first one's going to be home position. So I just double click inside here and go home. And then this is going to be my home position. So I'm going to go shift record. So now I have my record. So the next one is going to be my tool offset. So I'm going to go shift record. And I'm going to name it. Then I'm going to go inside of that. So I turn off shift position, and we're going to just go zeros. And then our Z is going to be 200 above. And we're going to go right down the line. So we're going to have an offset of 200. We're going to hit done. And then our next one is going to be our pickup position. And then this is going to be our drop off. And we don't know those positions yet, so we're going to just leave these unrecorded for now. So we now add a couple tables, and we're going to just do kind of a pass down. So we're going to have a table on the left, which is going to create the box, and then it's going to be a table on the right. So it's going to pick up, drop off, and another robot's going to pick up, and then drop off on another table. So let's add 3 different tables here. So we're going to go to cell, we're going to go to fixture, and then we're going to go to the CAD library, and we're going to go under the tables. And I always like to use the table with legs. Now we need to rotate this so that it's the correct direction. So from the previous videos, we found that Z should be always 800. And let's change the W to 90. And now let's move it out to where we want it to be. So we'll say 1500 millimeters. And we're going to move it off to the left here. Actually, let's go 1300. 1300 looks good. And then let's move it off to the left-hand side, which is going to be our Y component. So I move it off maybe 500. Let's move it to the left, 500. There we go. So now we have it off to the 500. We'll lock the proportions, and then let's add a part to it. So here's our box. Apply. So adds our box to the top. Now we need to rotate it so it's the correct direction, and also so that it matches our UCS for our box up here. So we have 90. Let's go negative 90 to make it the correct direction. Okay, and then we need to move it up also. So let's move this up. Above our part should be 200. There we go. And let's just leave it centered. So that's good. And let's just double check sure that our boxes are the same direction. So Z is up, Y is to the right. Okay, on that, double click your box up here. Z is up, Y is to the right. So we match. So we're all good on that. So I'm going to just go back to my table and then back to that box. Simulation, we're going to allow this to be picked up. It's not going to be placed. And we're going to create a new one after, say, 5 seconds. Hit apply. There we go. Let's move to this. So let's double click it. If you already escaped out, go to parts and then go move to. And now our robot moves to that position. And then we're going to save this as our pickup. So right here, we're going to go Shift, Record, and now we have our pickup recorded. So now let's create the exact same thing, 1000 millimeters to the right. So we're going to right click on that table with legs. We're going to copy. Fixtures, we're going to right click and we're going to paste. So we have the exact same replica now. And then we're going to move it to the right. Unlock our proportions, get rid of the 1000 right there, hit apply, so we're in the direct position. And then for our Y component, we're going to go 500, which will make it the exact same thing on the right hand side. And everything else is set up. So we have our parts, we have our simulation, all good. We're going to allow to be placed. And we will figure this out once we actually do the simulation. So we're also going to be allowed this to pick up as well. And let's go back to parts. So let's go move to. So now we're moved to that position. And we're going to hit yes to apply. And let's save our drop-off area. So record, so shift record, and we're good. Let's create one more table with the box. So I'm going to right click on this, I'm going to copy. And I'm going to go to fixtures, and I'm going to paste. Click it. And let's change our location. And we're going to go 1000 in the Y, so we're at that point right there. And let's give this a new name. Call it 3. Parts is still good. Simulation, still good. We're going to have this as a drop-off only. So we're going to do a placement. And then let's go to our box. We'll leave this as is. Hit OK. Now that we're in the registers, let's just also set up a data register for speed right away. So let's go to type, and we're going to just go to normal registers, and I'm going to change this to speed. And let's change this to, say, 500, but we'll initialize it as we go through. Okay, so next let's do a pickup and place simulation program. So let's go to the Teach, Add Simulation Program, and this is going to be pickup. So we'll do pickup robot 1. Hit OK. And this is just going to be the simple picking up of the box. So go down here, and we're going to go to Pickup, and we're going to pick up our box from the first table, and then with the gripper number 1. If this was an actual program, an actual robot, you would have this as a digital output or digital input for different sensors and also for the suction in order to activate, or it would also be a robot output instead of a digital input or output. So it all depends on the scenario, but for the actual simulation software, we have to use a simulation portion of the software in order to pick up something to actually see it work. So now we're going to go to our Dropoff. Let's create our Dropoff program and teach. We're going to add simulation program, and we're going to do this as a Dropoff robot 1. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into instruction and not do pickup. We're going to do Dropoff, and we're going to drop off the box from our end of tool, and we're going to drop it off onto table number 2. Close that out, so that is all good. Start adding the programs necessary, and we're setting this all up so it makes things a lot easier when we add a second robot, because we're going to add the exact same robot and we're going to clone this one. So when we clone this one, the majority of the things that we have set up right now will actually transfer over. So let's do our pickup program first. We're going to make a multitude of small programs, and we're going to have one large program. And that large program is going to call upon the small programs known as subprograms. Bring in the other robot, we're going to have multiple programs running at the same time on both robots. So let's go to Select, and let's go Create, and we're going to call this the pickup program. And we're going to edit. I'm going to comment the different portions of this, so I'm going to just pause this and quickly comment this area just to speed up a little bit. Alright, so I have a simple program set up here. I have my frames, U frame number 1, U tool number 1, and again, before you started creating anything, you always want to double check to make sure you're in the correct frames. If you want to check it right now, just go to Menu, and you go to Setup, Frames, and here's your user frames. You can go to Other to make sure that you're in the correct user frame, and here's the actor user frame right now, which is number 1. If you need to reset it, you can just go to Set IND number 1, and same thing with the tool frames. So I'm going to go back to my program by clicking Edit. The other things that we have is variables. We're going to set our speed to 500. We're also going to set our tool offset to 200, and we're going to do this very specific between our programs so that we can change the speed up and down with what it's actually doing, and we don't have to actually go through and change each individual speed on each of the movements. So we're going to now move our point above our parts. So we're going to go Add Move Point, and we're going to do a joint movement to that. And we're going to use position register number 3 or number 4 for our offset for our top here. So we're going to go to Choice, Position Register number 4. So that's going to be our pickup. And we're going to go down there at, we'll say, 80% speed. And then we're going to arrow to the right, and we're going to do a tool offset point register. And we're going to use position register number 2 for that. So our tool offset. Then we're going to move to the part. So we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to do a linear movement down. And we're going to change that 100 to a register number 1, which is our speed. And this is going to be our position register number 4. And we're not going to have any offsets to this. And then for our simulation program, we're going to go to our simulate pickup. So we're going to go new instruction, call program, and we're going to go pickup robot 1. And then we're going to move to 200 millimeters above. So I'm going to just copy this, but we're going to change this to a joint movement. So ECDM, and we're going to go copy, select, copy, and then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to paste. And we're going to paste it with our logic because it is a position register. We don't have to worry about changing anything. So position register number 4, pickup. And let's change this to a linear movement. So let's go select, hit escape here, go on our joint, go linear, position register that, and we're going to change this to our speed, which is our register number 1, with our tool offset of Z. So we're back up to the beginning. So that's going to be our simple program. Later on, we'll add more information to this to make sure that the robots do not collide. But for now, this is going to be our simple program. So there's just a few things that we're going to change in here for the call program to make this a little bit more realistic. So we're going to add a wait time to allow that suction to happen. So we'll do that right in the actual simulation program. So let's go to that simulate pickup number 1. And let's just go teach program. So right click on it, teach program. And let's add a wait timer to allow that suction to happen. So we're going to go instruction, and we're going to go to wait, and we're going to wait 1 second, and we're going to move it up to the top. So we're going to wait 1 second, then it's going to pick up, and then we're going to do another wait after that. So we're going to wait, say, a half of a second after that. So that allows that suction to happen, and usually you have sensors and things like that to allow to make sure that everything's working the way it's supposed to. But because this is a simulation program, we just want to simulate it as best as possible. So wait 1 second, then we're going to pick up our box, then we're going to wait a half of a second after that. So I'm going to close that down. I'm going to do the same thing for the drop-off program. So let's go to the drop-off program, right click, and we're going to teach program. And let's add our wait times here. So we're going to have a half of a second in the beginning. So once it comes down, half of a second, and then it's going to allow for that suction to happen, turn off. So it's going to wait 1 second afterwards. So it's going to wait, drop off, and then wait 1 second to allow that suction to disconnect from that actual box. So I close that out. So those 2 programs are now good. So I'm going to go back to my select. There's my drop off program. And let's go to select and find my main program called pickup. Find it over here, pickup program, enter, and there's our pickup program. So now let's just run this and see what happens. There we go. So now we have that. Let's just make sure that we are above. So you can see that we're not exactly above. So we need to change that. Now, because we did this as a tool offset, and we have the variable right here, we can change that variable to, say, 300. And let's see what happens. Let's run that and just make sure everything is good. And it looks like we're still at that point. Oops, it didn't take because I didn't have the teach pendant on. So we'll go 300, and let's run that again. And it looks like we are fully away from our part now. So now that we're 300 millimeters, that automatically changes it. So you can see how easy it was to change that number based on what you visually see. Now, because we created this one, let's go back here, go back to select, and let's copy this. So go here, let's go copy, and then we're going to call this options keyboard, and this is going to be our drop off. Yes to copy. And let's go to that drop-off program. So now I just double-click it over here so I didn't have to find it on this side. So we'll go drop-off. Frames are all good. Variables are going to be all good. And we just got to change our position registers to number 5, which is our drop-off. And make sure our teach pendant is on. So there's our 5. There's our 5. Drop-off point. And let's change our call program to drop-off this time. Move on down, and let's change our pickup again down here to 5. So we have our drop off with the same tool offsets. So just like that, we have our drop off program made. So that's that power of the copy and making position registers so that things move from one place to the other, so you don't have to continuously reteach things over and over and over again. Let's run this program to make sure everything is good. So we dropped it off. And there we go. Everything's good. Alright, so I just created another program called Home using the user frames, and then Home Position being the home position register. And now let's create the final program, which is going to be called our main program. So we're going to call it, and we're going to call it main. And we're going to jump into there, and we're going to set this up just like we set up the other programs with the user frames and everything else. So I'm going to pause it just to, again, speed up the process. So I have my main program all set up. So I have my frames, uFrame number 1, uTool number 1, our variables, speed up to 500, and then our position register, the tool offset number 2, Z coordinate is going to be set to 300, our home, so we're calling the home program. So we're going to go now to the pickup. So we're going to go add new instruction, call, and we're going to go call program and pickup program. Go on down and then go to drop off. So we'll do that program in a minute here. We'll set that up. And then for our drop off, we're going to call program again. And then it's going to be our drop off program. And then we're going to call home. So we're going to go to the home. So we're going to go from one position to the other. And for our drop off, we're going to do a swoop between. I'll move to this part right here. And I'm going to switch to my tool. So I move this up to my 300 point. And then I'm going to move over to my 500 mark, which is right in the center. And now I'm going to do a linear swoop between our two areas. So I'm going to go add move point, and I'm going linear. And first thing I'm going to do is going to switch this to my register. So register number 1. And we switch this now to a circular movement. And we'll just bring this up just a hair bit. Say 200. And I'm going to shift record on this. Touch up right here. So that's my first position. And then my last position is going to be the drop off area. So we're going to use a register. Choice, position register number 5, which is our drop off, and then we're going to use that tool offset. So we're going to do a swoop between the two areas. So let's try this out. So we just first kind of clean this up just a hair bit. And later on we'll come in here and we'll actually delete and add
a few more other things just to make sure everything is good. There we go. Shift up to the top, and let's run this. And drop off. So now everything is good. Should go back to the home position, and now we're ready to clone the robot. So in the next video, we'll clone the robot and do some setups between the two robots.